Okay, we're back after a little bit of a break um, in videos, and today we're going to be talking about the article from the course pack, Why No One is Reading Your Marketing Content. All right, so one of the takeaways from the article is that marketing today is a little bit more difficult than it used to be. So, despite the fact that we have hundreds, if not thousands, of different channels and media available to us today, the fact that all of that stuff exists results in a more fragmented audience, which means it may actually be more difficult to reach our audience, despite the fact that we may have a better idea of who's actually in a particular spot at a particular time. You take a look at the chart on the right of this particular slide, and you can see that broadcast TV, 40 or 45 years ago, used to reach nearly 100% of marketing or of the market. And even 6 or 7 years ago, we could see broadcast TV reaching a significant chunk of the market. And as we've seen today, this has kind of disappeared um, uh, as people utilize different tools to access the content they're trying to view, and that this fragmentation of the market and ability or inability of traditional media to reach the wide audience is going to continue to diminish over time. And one of the things we've talked about both in this class and in um, uh, the concept or around the concept of digital media in general is that it has wonderful mechanisms for being able to track information about who's watching your product, when they're watching it, or and where else they may go or what else they may be doing while they are before and after they view your content. The fact that the tracking exists and has a powerful uh, uh, mechanism for you as a brand to understand what's going on with your audience. The same can be said for your competitors. Okay, so the fact that that tracking exists means your competitors can get access to it, utilize the same data as well. Um, And then the other takeaway or primary takeaway from this particular audience is that rather than relying on trying to push messages in front of an audience, um, the focus in modern marketing and the key opportunity is uh, around creating content and specifically brand content. But what we're seeing with a lot of the brands that are engaging with this approach is that uh, the content they're creating is not relevant and engaging content. It's merely long form versions of the same content that they used to produce for broadcast media. So rather than creating a 30-second ad, we create a 90-second or a 5-minute ad that doesn't do anything of value for the audience. And if we want to produce content that is going to be useful to our audience, we've got 4 primary questions that we need to ask and provide answers for. And the first is, why do we need to create this content? We'll take a look at each of these questions in depth over the next couple of slides. What value are you offering in exchange? Okay, so the fact that consumers were willing to accept an interruptive advertising campaign in the past with broadcast television, the trade or the exchange that they made was, I get to watch this content for free. Okay, so if the advertisers didn't exist, then the access to the content goes away. So the exchange I'm getting as a consumer for listening to your advertisement is free content. That uh, uh, moral contract or agreement between customers and broadcasters kind of disappeared when cable television entered the picture, and all uh, consumers are paying for the content they get to see. Yet we still have interruptive advertising, and that hasn't changed um, the model at all. So, in a arena where uh, consumers have to come to us. There has to be something that uh, we provide in exchange for them doing so. The next one is, what is your anchor? We'll get into more depth on what the concept of an anchor is all about. Um, and we'll talk a little bit further. What we're really talking about is, what is um, the actual story? What is the piece or the concept that's going to draw a consumer not only to check out your content but watch the content that you produce. And then what kind of experience are we trying to deliver? As uh, traditional marketing could rely on the fact that our advertising efforts were going to be embedded within an existing content. The content brought the viewers to uh, check out the content itself, and we could drop advertisements inside of that, the context of that content. Um, that's not really the model anymore. So, as a brand, if you're creating content and you want people to view your content, there has to be some type of experience that you're trying to deliver. So 4 questions that we need to answer. The first one is, why do we need content? So traditional marketing worked. As we look at the information provided in the article that we're talking about here, traditional marketing worked because broadcast allowed marketers to reach a large number of people, a big audience, in a short amount of time at a reasonable price. Okay, so I could spend whatever money it costs to get a 30-second spot put into in the middle of a television program that may have 10 or 15 or 20 million viewers. Okay, and so it was a fantastic tool for specifically reaching an audience. Very little engagement. It's a very passive mechanism for communicating with an audience, but it worked very. Second question: what value are you offering in exchange? Okay, so the main value that what we're trying to accomplish here with branded content is, when it's done effectively, the consumers view it as an exchange of value, that they get something out of it, and that it's not an interruption. Okay, so good content shares something that the brand has, some expertise or some resource that the brand has available to it, uh, uh, and shares this with the customer in a way that not only holds their attention, okay, so it's entertaining, or at least intriguing and of value to watch, but it contributes to an opportunity to build a relationship with that customer. And how do we do this? That's kind of the next question. Which is, what is your anchor? Okay, so the anchor is, the idea, and the article talks about it as a high concept schema. Okay, so what is the um, actual base attraction of the story that we're trying to tell? So the article talks about the movie Speed, being Die Hard on a bus. Talks about Alien being Jaws on a spaceship. Talks about Life magazine and their high concept schema being a showbook of the world, or Cosmopolitan is fun, fearless, and female. Essentially, what we're talking about here is, if you're in a pitch meeting for your content, what is the 3 to 5 word pitch that you deliver to communicate what it is your content or your message is going to communicate? Okay, so the target audience is implied, right? So Jaws on a bus or Jaws on a spaceship is not going to be for children, okay? But the focus is on the both the editorial and the creative mission, telling a story, okay? And what we're trying to do is tell both a compelling story, but a consistent story that delivers an experience that uh, is both valuable to you as a brand. It helps you communicate something unique about what it is that you deliver, but it's also compelling and interesting to the individuals that you're trying to communicate with. Okay, so the last question: what type of experience do you want to deliver? We have to generate our own audience. Like we've said before, there's no built-in base here. There's no context that they're going to be viewing the content within. And we're shifting from essentially crafting just messages to crafting experiences. Then the experiences have to have a format and a structure and a voice to them. There's personality, there's tone, there's content. And the way we get something to kind of define the voice, the personality, the content, the tone of our brand is to create a style guide, okay, or a design guide. And then what's next? Okay, so that sums up that particular article. What's next in the course? Continue posting your blog. Check out the platform analyses from your classmates. I will be communicating on Blackboard how those will be accessible to you. Make sure you read the Hunger Games case because we're going to be conducting the analysis for that. That'll be due shortly after spring break. And once you've read the case, go ahead and answer the questions that are in the syllabus. And again, I'll provide instructions for that on Blackboard. All right, talk to you guys soon again.